And feel free at any time to use the chat feature if you want to just throw out, question, comment. Students usually participate very well. Good evening. Good evening. We like to hear you guys' voices, or let us know how you're feeling in the chat feature tonight. Welcome. Any first timers tonight? Return visitors here. We've been going at it pretty hard this summer. This is like session number, we're like 15 since the beginning of summer. Hello, Mr. Jason.
How's it going?
Not going too bad. Not bad at all.
We got Callie in the building.
Yeah. How's Mr. Evan? How you doing, man?
Good.
We love to hear your voice, man.
Thank you.
Everybody's managing well with school and COVID right now?
More or less.
All right. I can't wait for you guys to see me in a couple weeks. I get an upgrade here. You guys don't have to keep watching my basement wall anymore. Build me a little webinar studio in the basement here.
If everybody doesn't mind, can they drop where they're based out of? Since we have a Callie in the building, we might as well do a roll call,
Yeah, put in the chat feature your location. Locations in the chat feature. All right, we got a good range.
Hey, Cleveland.
All right, El Samp, Oklahoma. Some Indianapolis people. No one's from Chicago yet? There we go. Soon as I said something.
Finest.
They were just waiting on me to open my mouth. Got some New York. Got somebody in New York, Atlanta, Oregon. We got a nice range tonight. This is awesome.
I've been to Beaverton, Oregon once, and that was to, I went straight to Nike and then went back to Portland.
Oh, wow. All right. What a good group tonight. All right, guys. Well, we'll go ahead and get started tonight. Give me 1 second here. Give you a little. All right. Everyone see my screen well? Everyone's good there on the presentation?
Yes, I can see it.
All right, thank you so much. All right, guys, well, we have a wonderful session for you tonight. We have some wonderful guests with us. We're going to be discussing internships tonight. We call it Internships Find and Apply, but we also going to have a nice range of discussion around the internship processes, the importance of internships, et cetera. So tonight, like we always do here on our Wednesday night sessions, we really want your energy, we want your questions, we want your comments, we want your participation, and we really want you to take advantage of the wonderful guests that we have here tonight. So what I'd like to do, just very, very briefly, just a quick introduction, who you are, what you do, because you are going to hear your voices later from our guests. But if I can have our guests go through and I'll kind of introduce you from by name. If you can let them know who you are and what you do very briefly, and then we'll transition in tonight. All right, we'll just start top to bottom from the presentation. Wilson, can you get started with us, man?
No doubt, no doubt. So hi, everyone. My name is Wilson Darko. I'm based out of the Bronx, New York. Bronx, New York, born and raised, of course. And I work as a power systems engineer for Eaton Corporation. And I am also an alumnus of the LSAMP program from RIT, Rochester, New York.
All right, thank you, Liv.
Hi, my name is Liv Dietrich. I work for the Institute for Broadening Participation, which is a small nonprofit. Our mission is to increase diversity in STEM, and one of the things we do is to work to connect students with internships and research opportunities.
Awesome, awesome. Mr. Jimmy.
Hello, Jimmy McLeod. Working workforce development in the equity, diversity, and inclusion area of Fermilab, Fermi National Accelerator Laboratory. Originally from Cleveland, Ohio, as you can see behind me, but I reside now in Chicago, Illinois. And yeah, I'm happy to be here.
Awesome, awesome. Mr. Rob.
Hey everyone, hope everyone's doing well. And shout out to the few from Chicago I saw in the chat. How's it going? That's where I am too. But my name is Robert Chuck. I work at Argonne National Laboratory, one of the sister labs to Fermilab. And I work in the educational programs and outreach group. And I'm the university student program coordinator. So anything internships, those are the students that I work with.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you guys so much. So tonight, just real briefly, just do a quick synopsis. We're talking about internships. So for those that may be asking what exactly is an internship, I won't give you any book definition. I'll just tell you that it's an opportunity via both summer or in semester for you to gain experience in either your direct field of study or some field of study, for you to learn about what you do and you don't like, also give you a chance to get some tangible experience to make you more marketable for future employment and also for future education and graduate study opportunities. So I think that's a very simple way to look at it. We also have a term called co-ops. In the academic world, you may have the opportunity to take off a semester. I actually had a co-op when I was in college, and I took off a semester, but I did receive, I think my university gave me 6 credit hours for that co-op. And then I was able to work and gain another 5 months of tangible experience, which helped me define my major of choice, ensure I made the proper choice along with my interest post graduation. So just wanted to make sure we had a clear understanding of what we're talking about tonight. Are there any questions just with that, about internships and co-ops just in general before we get started tonight? All right, hopefully that was a halfway decent definition for you tonight. So let's just do one quick icebreaker, guys. What percent of college graduates obtain their current position directly from an internship or internship contact? What do you guys think about that? Let's see what our answers come through with tonight. All right. We got 46% leading the way. All right, we'll give it just another second or two. Got a lot of choices selected here. Nice little range. All right, so let's see what the answer is. 53%. That's a very, very big number. And it's important because we're going to talk about how valuable the internship and that linkage is. Rob's actually going to touch on that in a little bit more detail here in just a second. So let me step back for a second. I'll just leave it on this slide for a moment. So what I like to do, there's going to be, just for a little housekeeping tonight, it's going to be twofold. We're going to have some open dialogue around internships, and all of our panelists will speak on certain things, but we also have things that our panelists are going to share about specific opportunities or a specific learning as it pertains to internships. So we do ask for you guys to stay engaged with us tonight. We'll be bouncing around a bit, but all in a structured manner to help you get a good understanding of internships, but also to listen to a couple of the opportunities that are going to come about tonight. So what I'll do is go ahead and get started with Mr. Rob as it pertains to this subject. We talked about how internships have that direct line into you getting opportunities, and Rob wanted to touch on the importance of that, and he'll also link a few of his personal personal journey through internships as well. So Rob, you kind of take the way on the importance of this poll we put up here.
Yeah, so thanks, Brian. Happy to lead things off here, but I think I'll start with my personal story. Back when I was in undergrad, I actually had an opportunity to be an Argonne internship student, and I worked at the Advanced Photon Source, which is basically a giant X-ray microscope machine. And that's how I got my start doing research during my undergraduate career. And I still work at the lab. I work in a little bit of a different field. I work in educational programs, kind of as a informal educator, as you will. But the whole point of this is the reason why I got the position that I'm in now is because there was people who could speak to my work ethic at the National Lab. And that really went a long way as far as, I still had to do a resume, do a cover letter, go to the interview. But having those references and building my network of support at the laboratory was really beneficial for me getting the opportunity that I have now. So it just so happened that, I had an internship at the same place that I now work at, and I had contacts to help me and support me with that. But the other thing was, building the network of that. And also I liked where I was working. And that's why I wanted to continue working there. So it was also, they saw that I fit in with, how things were working there, but I also felt that way mutually, where I thought this was a very good place where people are very respectful, very kind, everyone's motivated towards a common, directive. So it was really, it helped launch my career. I like to think that I'm moderately successful, or, still in the early phases, but and even still, I'm still surrounded by people who are doing great things and who are still super supportive in the endeavors that, I might want to pursue in the future, whether it's next week, this year, or, in 2 years. So, so definitely, building your network. And the other thing that, was a little bit beneficial for me was when I was applying for positions was having some name recognition of the scientific organization where I was working. That sometimes can go help you out and go a long way, and sort of bolster the credibility of, the work that you've done. But sort of, a little bit of name recognition, then also a little bit about, building the network of support.
Yeah, Rob, if I could step in here for a second, I wanted to share a little bit of my journey with internships as well. And I completely agree with everything you said. So thank you for sharing that. When it came to my senior year of college, I still had 2 internships I needed to do before graduating, and graduated from Bowling Green State University. So shout out to any of you BGSU grads who may be on or students who may be on the call. But I had like a freak out after my first internship, because my bachelor's degree is actually in exercise science. I don't do anything with exercise science, but I wanted to be a strength and conditioning coach or a cardiac rehab specialist. It's kind of something with the human body and movement and that kind of stuff. Until I did an internship, and I was like, oh no, this isn't for me at all. And so not only did the internship let me know that the track that I was on was not going to be one that would be happy for me in the long term, but it also allowed me to accept that and then speak to other folks to maybe get insight, regarding what my next steps could be. So I immediately went to graduate school and got a degree in something completely different. And I couldn't have gotten into graduate school without the undergraduate degree, obviously. So it wasn't a waste of time, but it did allow me to truly figure out what I did and didn't want to do, at least in that part of my life, right? Like, it's kind of ridiculous that we ask you all to figure out what you want to do with your life at like 20 years old. But if we can get past that, it really allowed me to get that hands-on experience to learn what is and what is not engaging and fulfilling for me. So I just wanted to share that one as well.
I would actually co-sign what Jimmy and Rob just said about that. I think for a lot of students, when it comes to that first internship experience, there's a concern that, you need to have the next 40 years of your life planned out. And if you don't have that planned out, you're done, right? You're gonna fail through every portion of your experience, and you might not get the job or career that you're looking for. But the reality is, similar to what Jimmy said, it's good to get that first work experience through an internship, whether in a positive or negative light, where it kind of gives you insight of what the next steps can look like. And realistically, even in my experience, having worked with, interns for my work, the standards or the expectation rather is not that you're supposed to be at the caliber of a full-time employee, right? This is your first experience within your industry potentially. So the expectation isn't that you are a rocket scientist, unless you're working for NASA, that's a different conversation. But, for the most part, there is some leeway for you to make mistakes and hopefully grow from them. So that is a big aspect of internships to be mindful of.
Awesome. I wanted to know if we can actually hear from one of our students tonight as it pertains to this. Have we had anyone that has actually done an internship and it helped provide some clarity and make the path that you are pursuing a little bit more defined, or made you make an adjustment? Is there anyone on the call tonight that has experienced that? You can use the raise your hand feature and I'll call on you. Do we have any brave souls tonight? So I guess let's do this. Have we, we got one. I like to also do this. Norbaya, I want you to take your phone off mute and speak up, but also we'll do kind of an impromptu poll here. Use the raise your hand feature, or actually let's do this. Let's use the chat feature. Just type yes if you have already completed at least one internship. And then while we're doing that, Norbaya, do you mind sharing your story there?
Yeah, sure. I may have missed the entire question, but I have completed recently an internship at the Morton Arboretum, working on a tallgrass berry. And this occurred during, it wasn't a part of their REU program. And if you could remind me, I'm so sorry, of what exactly was being asked about my experience, or
so did that experience help provide clarity to your degree field, your field of study? Did it help you make an adjustment? What did that do for you?
Mm-hmm. So that's a great question. So for me, it definitely solidified my passion for botany, for conservation and restoration research, as well as potentially what that would mean for application or an industry practice. And it was a combination of hands-on experience, like literally working in or on a tall grass prairie in the hot June sun. It was a very interesting experience, because I am in the field, so I did a lot of field work, and there's that aspect, but then there was also on a minor level some lab work that was included, or at least learning a little bit more about analysis of like soil and measuring biomass. And so I do feel that REU program, how it was structured in a way where I could get the hands-on experience, but then I also would gain more experience from working, I guess it's also a bit hands-on, but that's field work versus lab work. I had experience in both of those kind of parts of that program. So overall for me, yes, it definitely, I realized there's a challenge, a part of the challenge and the nature of being a part of the REU, or doing research in general. But yeah, this is me. I'm definitely following the field of botany. And I think I was very unsure about that beforehand, but attending that, the internship and connecting with the professors, connecting with other students, it was an amazing experience. I'll stop there.
Okay, no, that's awesome. So what I like to do is, Wilson, do you mind sharing? We were kind of all hitting on just some general topics at the beginning before we go into the presentation. Can you talk about like the range from an internship of from a corporate America standpoint of just like different type of opportunities that STEM students can get? Because I know many students think about research laboratories, they think about researching on campus. Careers in academia, but Darko is coming, Wilson, sorry, is coming from the world of corporate America right now. So can you talk about maybe some of the range of internship opportunities and fields of study that STEM students can have in corporate America?
Definitely. Yeah. So I think one of the misconceptions, if you would, in terms of corporate America, or really just internships in general, is that you have to be very specific with what you want to do. Or even for most people, when they go into college, there's an expectation that, you know, let's say in my case, I studied electrical engineering in undergrad. So I'm looking for electrical engineering jobs that the title is electrical engineering or electrical engineering intern or something like that, right? And the reality is that's not necessarily the case, right? If that is something that I'm passionate about, then of course, you know, I can tap into things that kind of touch exactly on my field. You know, so there is somewhere an electrical engineering position, right? But ultimately I can tap into different subsets within that function, right? So in my case, I tapped into power systems. I know some people that do more coding-based work in their field, even though they are still an engineer or a scientist or whatever else it is. And you even have the opportunity to tap into spaces outside of STEM backgrounds, right? So I know, you know, maybe not necessarily with my function, but other functions within my company and most companies across the country, there are spaces for you to tap into finances. You know, with a technical mindset, that is something that's actually very competitive in a finance background. So if, you know, like Jimmy said, you know, you had your first internship or even maybe your first class sophomore, junior year, and you're like, you know what, we've had a good run, but you know, once I graduate, I can tell this is not for me. You still have space to tap into these other functions, right? I have friends that they studied political science undergrad, and now they're doing technical work, right? I have people that do program management internships or operations or finance, like I mentioned before. There's a bunch of different areas that you can really touch on in terms of internships. And ultimately, the biggest thing that you're learning in an internship, in addition to knowing what you want to do, is really learning how to maximize your work ethic. So, you know, if you go into really any internship opportunity, that's what they're looking to teach you, right? So in terms of the different roles you can tap into, they're essentially infinite. You know, it's just really about knowing what am I good at? You know, what would I like to tap into in the future? Or even in some cases, you know, what don't I want to do, right? If I know I don't want to go into a software-based position, let me look into something, if you're, you know, in the technical realm, somewhere hardware-based. If you don't want to do research, you can do something that's applications-oriented. If you want to leave STEM everything, right, and go into philosophy, go into history, you could do an internship in, you know, let's say, you know, public health, right? There are spaces for you to do that. And as long as your work ethic matches what you say, you can get that kind of job, right? You know, I've seen people jump from different internships that have absolutely nothing to do with each other, right? So if they can do it, you know, of course, all of you with, you know, your phenomenal LSAMP experience can do the same, you know, so that's just something to consider.
Thank you, Wilson. Marie, are you looking to ask a question or make a statement there? You can take your phone off mute.
Sorry, no.
Oh, okay.
Mistake.
No problem. So one of the other topics that we wanted to just throw out up front before we went into our individual presentations is Liv was going to provide more detail to us about the process of internships. Before you do your presentation, Liv, is there any just kind of high level key points that our students should know about preparing themselves for internships? And if we can just get any questions from any of our students or other panelists want to add value to that.
Sure, yeah. I'll go into more details on sort of finding internships. And I think, one of the key things is just that you're all here and thinking about it right now. I mean, that's kind of the first hurdle, is that deadlines are often very early. And so thinking about and preparing and taking, the time to prepare quality applications now, so that you can apply when deadlines open up, in December, January, and February is really important. Logistically, it's really, I think, just setting your mind to it and being really organized and planning ahead and seeking out, mentors that can help you along the way if you end up with questions. And I think you all are really well set up in that area.
Liv, I think that's a really good point that you bring up about the timing. So one thing I did not learn until I got in corporate America was I didn't know that some of the summer internships were really getting filled in the fall semester. So many companies and organizations were filling their summer slots before they went into the Christmas break. And then they were actually working starting January of the next year on their next school year planning. So a lot of their goals were actually to be completed with filling slots going into Christmas. I wasn't sure if any of our panelists have experienced that in their organizations now. Is that still accurate, and kind of what are you guys' thoughts on that?
Yeah, I can speak on that from multiple perspectives, both in my internship experience applying for them and since I've been working in my function. Ultimately, when it comes to that preparation, there's a phrase: proper preparation promotes good performance, right? It's different variations of it, but that's the one we'll use today. Ultimately, it serves you to know what you're trying to get into. And by planning ahead and performing ahead, you put yourself way ahead of the curve, right? If you are looking, let's say, for an internship in the summer, and you're applying, hey, the semester's almost done, I'm about to, finish up before summer break. And I wish you the best. There's not much available at that point. Even having done some work with university relations in my function, ultimately, that preparation is a good indicator for a lot of companies and research labs, pretty much everyone across the board, where, if you're applying in the fall, those are usually for spring and more so summer opportunities. And if you're applying, again, a month or two out before it starts, that's usually when orientation is beginning. So, the more you can plan ahead, the better off you are, just across the board.
I'll add to that. I think in addition, especially coming forward, I mean, we don't know what the summer is going to look like, essentially, right? Like, we don't know if these experiences are going to be virtual, if they're going to be in person. So the more preparation you can do, especially right now, is key. Also, if you're having questions or doubts or excitement, whatever it is, and you just don't know where to start, talk to people. There's faculty at your universities. There's some emails you can just reach out to on websites. Talking to people about what you want to do can often open up doors to where someone's like, oh, I heard about an internship opportunity at Fermilab or at Argonne. Since you said you want to work at a national lab, you just don't know where to start. And as a matter of fact, it opens tomorrow. They can plug you into little things that are word of mouth that maybe you would never even know to consider. Because things are named, they're not directly named electrical engineer intern. Like, it could be something completely out of the realm of possible or consideration. So I strongly encourage you to talk to people, to share your thoughts, your concerns, and your questions, because you never know what information somebody else is holding and what they possess, and how that can help sort of guide you and help you be more prepared going forward.
Awesome. Looks like we have a student that likes to share. Nigel.
Hey, sorry about that last question. It was pertaining to that last statement about internship. Like, did the internship
Uh,
validate
yeah,
something?
did the internship provide clarity and
Correct, correct, correct,
help
correct.
more define what you were pursuing?
Yeah, so like, it was my junior year going into my summer year, and it provided a lot of clarity on the research that I did for the program that I wanted to do, for the job title that I wanted to do, and me getting that internship validated that. Also, it kind of highlighted things that, like, where the field was getting projected to. So, like, for example, like, I'm an IST student, which is information science and technology, but I'm more of a networking guy. So the internship that I got was a network engineer and telecom internship at a hospital, and it projected like a lot of like where it was going, like the tools that you were going to need, the knowledge that you were going to need, and so on and so forth. So with that being said too, I also am planning to go to grad school towards like wireless communication.
Okay, okay. So I think this is really important, and we'll continue to interject throughout the night about that. Is you know you don't know what you don't know, and I think that's so valuable with internships is just giving you a little bit more information, a little bit more clarity, a little bit more experience to help make your decisions, right? Some of you want to get master degrees, PhDs. You may want to create your own businesses around STEM. Do you want to do big things? And so it would help to know a little bit more than just this is the title of my degree. It's like, okay, great. What does that mean? And it's not a surprise that you see people change their majors. I was a person who changed my major once I did an internship because I realized I really, really liked manufacturing and I wanted to be involved. So I put an emphasis on manufacturing when I'm doing industrial engineering. So those are things that I know it helped me, and I know it looks like the stories that we're getting from others that it's helping you as well. So what I like to do is transition. Each one of our presenters has some content that they're going to share. Also talk about some of the opportunities that they have. In the meantime, if you do have a question, I'll keep my eye on the raise your hand feature, but also feel free to put anything in the Q&A box at any time. So what we'll do is I'll just Plinko. We'll start with Mr. Rob. He looks so excited right now. Look at him. He's so happy.
Yeah, I'm happy to share. And just real quick, just to backtrack while I pull up this slide, I will say that the earlier your planning is for what you want to do, right now we're in the fall semester, fall quarter. When you're thinking about what you want to do next summer and you get those applications out of the way, what I've seen with a lot of the students who have come through Argonne is that uh, the quality of their internship is better because they've already started developing a relationship with who they're going to work with, and they've gotten some reading material or some background information on what they're going to be working on. And that's only going to help you hit the ground running when you first start.
So while Rob is pulling up his information, are you still having fall career fairs on your campuses this year, virtually? Or if those of you that are on campus, are you still having some form of career fair? And those that are virtual, are you doing virtual career fairs for the fall? I guess another question is, do you even know if this is happening? Do we need to be contacting career services to find out? Because I know most universities have their fall career fairs. And I know, at least when I was in school, I used to see more students want to participate in the spring career fair because the summer was nearing. And I was like, once I learned my lessons, I was like, man, you may want to start focusing on some of the fall opportunities that are both at career fairs and at some of these conferences that take place in the fall. Many conferences have internship and full-time employment opportunities at them some way, somehow. So it looks like we are, okay, looks like a few students said they are still doing career fairs this fall. So that's awesome. So hopefully you can take some information that you're learning tonight and apply it. All right, Rob, all yours, man.
Cool. I assume everyone can see my first slide, title slide. So
Yep,
cool.
You look good there.
Excellent. So I'll talk about a couple of select opportunities at Argonne National Laboratory. Before I get into it, I will go give you a brief overview. There we go. So Argonne is one of the 17 Department of Energy national laboratories. The national labs are located across the country, number on the West Coast, a couple in the Midwest, a couple on the East Coast, 2 in Illinois, represented today. But basically, the national labs tackle big problems in science and technology. Particularly, Argonne is a multidisciplinary laboratory that works across the physical sciences and engineering and computational areas. So some of the big key initiative areas at the lab right now are using artificial intelligence for science. One way we do that is we have supercomputers that are at the lab, and we're taking big, large data sets and running them through the supercomputer and coming out with simulations, projections, and doing science at a large scale, data science in large scale. Another emerging initiative is quantum information science. I'm going to be honest, this is probably the toughest one for me to grasp and talk about. But basically, it's a way for it's a new way of transferring information. So one thing that they recently discovery they had was creating an unbreakable quantum loop. And basically, it's a way to send information in sort of a circle without it being hacked. Another application for the science is in sensing, sensors for a number of different devices. And then the other major initiatives that go on at the lab is hard X-ray sciences. So that little circle you see in the bottom left corner, that's the advanced photon source, a giant X-ray microscope machine. So basically using X-rays, it's very similar to using a light microscope, where you could see up close materials. So they look at biological samples, environmental samples, different materials. They could put it under pressure in extreme conditions and stuff and see what happens. Advanced computing, at some point next year, I'm not sure if it's been, what the expected date is, if it's been delayed because of the pandemic, but we're supposed to have one of the fastest supercomputers in the world, the Aurora machine. So basically, supercomputers can do a number of way more calculations a second than your personal computer. So we can input big data sets and pare it down and see what we get out of it. Another area is materials and chemistry. One of the key research areas that the lab is known for is battery science. And there's a number of people working with different materials. There's a nanoscale nanoscience division where they're working on developing different nanoparticles for different applications. We actually have the Center for Nanoscale Materials where there's a big giant clean room and people are working on a whole number of different applications for materials and working on different chemistries. Another key initiative is manufacturing science and engineering. So basically one of the things that the lab is trying to figure out is when we have a novel material, how do we scale it up so it's actually usable for an industrial or like a real world application? And there's actually a newer facility where they specialize in doing that. And how do we, manufacture, novel materials so they're more readily available and they work better? And then finally, the universe has our laboratory. Argonne's home to some of the brightest cosmologists and cosmology researchers. And with, as I mentioned, some of the tools, on here, the supercomputer, they're able to use and come up with advanced simulations and projections of the universe. So one thing I like to turn students onto is the Argonne Research Index. And you could find the link below, or you could just Google Argonne Research Index. And I really like this page because it basically gives a broad overview of all the different science that goes on at the laboratory. So let's say you're interested in mechanical engineering, you could find mechanical engineering and you could click the link and read about stories that are going on with mechanical engineering. And you could also find out which researchers are doing the work in that area. Another example, computer science and engineering, that's a pretty broad topic, but when you click the link right there, you'll see some stories, you'll see some profiles of who's doing that work, and so forth. And I recommend this because when you're looking for an internship, this is a good way to start to try to understand the work that's going on at this is just my Argonne example, but you could probably find equivalents for, industry people, other national labs, academia as well.
Hey, Rob.
Yeah.
We have a question from Norbaya.
Yeah.
It says, does Argonne National Lab do work with biological technology, also for astrobiology?
So we're a little limited in, regular biology. There is a bio division. I will say that the biology work that goes on at the lab is in service of for the environment and energy. So there are biologists like geochemists or biogeochemists, I think that someone is. There is one molecular biologist. So we're pretty limited, but the biology that we do at the lab is related to energy because we're a Department of Energy lab.
All right, thank you for that.
Yeah.
And feel free, anyone at any point, Q&A feature, chat feature, raise your hand if you like to ask any questions.
Yeah. So I'll talk a little bit about 2 internship opportunities quickly. The first one is a science undergraduate laboratory internship. Basically, we call this the SULI program. And it's funded by the Department of Energy. And it's a year-round internship. So we have summer interns for 10 weeks. And we also have students during the fall and the spring for 15-week sessions, basically the length of a semester. And this program is hosted at all the national laboratories. So I know when you look at the application, you can apply to 2 projects. One of them could be an Argonne project. The second project could be a Fermilab project, or another project at one of the other national labs. And basically, in this internship, you're working alongside a staff researcher, who will act as your mentor, and you'll be working on, something that's related to their research or the research of their group. It's contained within the key Department of Energy, mission science research. So anything you really see on the research index, you'd be working on something related to that. It's a paid opportunity. There is a stipend. And during normal times, we do have it's a hotel that's on site, but we call it the guest house. And students are able to stay on site. Now, right now, just because of the pandemic and stuff, all of our opportunities, last summer, our opportunities were remote. And right now, our fall internship opportunities are remote as well. How things shape up for next summer, I'm not really sure. But I know we're working on that now. And I have good news. If you're interested in, an internship at one of the DOE national labs, the application just opened up for this yesterday, October 20th, and the deadline is January 12th. So you've got a couple months to get your application together. And this is where you could find the application. You could Google DOE SULI program. And then when you actually go to apply, you should see a screen like this that'll let you know that you're in the right place. And you can read more about all the other national labs and find links at the DOE SULI website. And then the other program that I'll talk about is the Student Research Participation Program. This program is just at Argonne. So the SULI program, the nice thing about it is you put in one application for 2 different labs. The SRP program, it's basically the same program, but it's Argonne specific. And we have students year round, summer in 10 weeks, fall in the spring 15 weeks. I will say that most appointments are made in the summer. That's when we see the most students. Same thing, you're working with a mentor on a scientific, a subset of their research. And you could be working with other students, graduate students, postdocs, other researchers. And again, you're paid. It does qualify for on-site housing if we ever get back to normal real life. And one thing that I like to point out is this program is kind of dependent on the funding levels of the different Argonne scientific divisions. So at Argonne, not all the scientific divisions are funded, funded equally. So I know the computer science folks, they bring in a lot of money, so they have a lot of interns, and it varies year to year who's able to afford and who has the overhead for an SRP internship student. And like the SULI program, this opportunity is open now, just opened yesterday for summer 2021. And the deadline for this is a little later. It's March 1st, 2021. And then where to apply? This is what the link looks like for the online application. And if you see something that looks like this, you're in the right position. I'll quickly go over some of the eligibility things, requirements, but you must be enrolled full-time. You need a couple of letters of recommendation. You need a GPA of 3.0 on a 4.0 scale, be 18 years or older by the time the internship starts. With these internships, the citizenship sometimes is an issue, but it's a little more stringent. You have to be a US citizen or legal permanent resident by the time you apply. Drug test. And then this last bullet point, it looks scary and you might be reading it about foreign governments and all of that. But basically that question is on the application, and whatever, just don't be a spy. And my joke is the first day of spy school, I'm pretty sure they tell you, don't tell anyone you're a spy. So there's nothing to worry about with that. And then there's some required academic standing. So the SULI program, full-time students, community college students are eligible to apply as well. The thing about the SULI program is freshmen are not eligible. You have to have at least completed your freshman year. So if you're just starting your sophomore year, you're eligible to apply for this program for summer 2021. The other thing that's kind of unknown about some of our internships is recent graduates can apply if you graduated within the last 2 years. So if you're a recent grad or you're about to be a recent grad and you're you don't know what you're getting yourself into with the regular career job market, you could still do an undergraduate internship. If you're between undergrad and you're looking for a job, or if you're between undergrad and graduate school, we have a number of students who do undergraduate internships between undergrad and graduate school. With the SRP program, basically the same thing, being enrolled full-time at a US institution. Freshmen are eligible for this program. So, if you just started college, you can apply for that internship. And the same thing, the date's a little slightly less, but recent grads still qualify for the SRP undergraduate internship. And I like to end with this on what you need to apply right now if you're gung-ho about applying for this now. And this is kind of specific to these opportunities, but it's kind of general for all internships, which we kind of talked about earlier. As far as getting yourself together, I highly recommend, getting your letters of recommendation together, finding out which researcher or which teachers or faculty people will write your strong letters for you, supporting your academic pursuits. Get your transcripts together, figure out how you acquire those. And then two, a lot of times with applications, there's questions about essay questions about, how what research experience you've had before, what your interests are, what your personal or professional goals are. That's something to consider. And I'd highly recommend working with, giving yourself enough time to write those and write strong strong responses to those essay questions. And then two, I always encourage students to reach out to potential mentors at the national labs in Argonne. My thinking is the worst thing that can happen is someone says no, or they don't respond to your email. And since we're all kind of living behind the computer, those don't seem that bad to me. And my kind of final advice is, we say yes, we let others say no. So, if you think you're on, kind of in between, you might not get it, you would get it. I just say yes, the answer is always going to be no if you don't even put an application in. So I say, put in the application, you never know what's going to happen. And those are my slides, and I appreciate your time and listening.
All right. Rob, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right. So I wanted to say thank you first and foremost. Are there any questions that you have for the opportunities that Rob presented? If not now, that's okay. If you have something later, just put it in the chat feature. But if there is someone that does have a question now, use the raise your hand feature or the Q&A, and I'll make sure we answer any questions that you may have. Looks like Norbaya has a question for you, Rob.
Yeah, so I'm just gonna preface this question with, I'll just ask it. So basically we said for my internship, I had to have been drug tested, and some of the students that I know, STEM students, they at least smoke marijuana, and I'm asking because it can be a barrier for someone, whether it's for health reasons, like they legitimately have a medical issue, or it's recreational. And given that in the state of Illinois, at least, it's legalized, I'm just wondering what's Argonne National Laboratory's stance on particularly testing for marijuana. And I'm not speaking of myself, but I do know students that have had issues with getting an internship, and then others that have not. So particularly with marijuana cannabis legalization.
Yeah, so happy to answer that. I will say that in the remote environment, because we're having remote internships, we have not been drug testing students who are part of the program. Part of it is cost, and part of it is that seems like a lot of work during these weird times. So we were cleared to skip the drug testing portion. However, that would change if people were to come back on, students were to come back on site. And I know in the state of Illinois that it is legalized. However, the land of Argonne National Laboratory is is federally owned land. And in the eyes of the federal government, marijuana is still illegal. Even though we're in the state of Illinois, it's just federal property. So we have to abide by the federal laws and regulations on that.
Now that's actually, I know it wasn't an easy question to ask.
Not at all. It was not easy, and I was hesitant, but yeah, okay.
It's okay. We pride ourselves in tackling some of the challenging questions that you guys may have and being very transparent with you. A piece of advice that I want to give on this subject is, I understand that every state has their regulations. That is great. But when you go to work, you work for somebody's company or organization, and you have to realize that they have their own rules and regulations. You may or may not know those up front. So just like you just asked that question, trying to get as much clarity on that is best, but do know that it's not just what is legal within your state or area that you live in or plan to work, it's what does that company or organization allow? So I just wanted to make sure we threw that out there, so you didn't think, oh my gosh, they're doing something so wrong to me because they're drug testing. Well, they're allowed to have their own policies for their place of employment. So just know that, and I didn't want you to be offended by what companies or organization may have as their expectations. All right, looks like one last question here from Adonaya.
Yeah, I was just wondering, is the application going to be like rolling? So does it matter when you turn in the application? Does that affect like your chance of getting in?
Yeah, so great question. As long as you make it before the deadline of January 12th, you could submit it at any time. All the applications, we have kind of like a collective pool process. So once the deadline hits, all the applications go through kind of like a compliance review to make sure the applicants meet the minimum requirements. So anyone who doesn't make the minimum requirements, those applications are not used in the next round. But everyone who makes it through the compliance portion, they go to the pool, the general pool where mentors, researchers, scientists, engineers, they go in and they look through everyone's application. And at least at our lab, it's on a first come, first served basis. So everyone kind of, once you make it, you're kind of just in the pool with everybody. But as long as you make the deadline, you'll be in that pool. And then just to clarify real quick, the SULI program, the DOE funded internship program, the deadline for that is January 12th, 2021. And the deadline for the Argonne internship, the SRP program, that's March 1st, 2021. So that's the other thing too, at least with our organization, we have many different internship programs. These are just two that I'm highlighting here. But just in general, it's really good to be aware of what the deadlines are and when you need to have everything turned in, because like for our opportunities, there are multiple deadline dates. So definitely pay attention to those websites and that information. And it's a lot to keep track of, but if you stay organized, you should be able to stay on top of it.
Thanks, Rob. All right, Mr. Jimmy.
Perfect.
And while Jimmy's pulling that up, Rob, do you mind sharing your contact information in the chat feature so anyone can get a hold of you? Thanks, Wilson, for doing the same.
Perfect. Am I good to start, Brian?
Yes, sir. All yours, man.
Perfect. So I'll try to omit some of the things that'll overlap because I'll point it out, but I won't spend a ton of time on it. A lot of things overlap between Fermilab and Argonne, but wanted to share some opportunities with you. So what is Fermilab? For all of you who may not know, so it is Fermi National Accelerator Laboratory is the full name, and it is America's premier laboratory for particle physics and accelerator research funded by the Department of Energy, located in Batavia, Illinois. For those of you who don't live in Illinois, Batavia is about 40 minutes away from downtown. It would be considered a suburb of Chicago. There we go. So we were named after Enrico Fermi, was a physicist and the creator of the world's first nuclear reactor, and it was called the Chicago Power 1. We have thousands of scientists from around the world who do work for us and do research and discover all of the fun things that our laboratory brings to the table. Particle physicists aim to discover what the world is made of and how it works. And here's some areas of focus that we have. So engineering, physics, computer science, mathematics. Those are what you'll always hear. That's what you'll see all over our website. But I believe it was Wilson earlier who said, just because that's what we specialize in doesn't mean that we don't hire for other things, right? So I mean, my degree again is in exercise science, but I don't have a real science background as it relates to what Fermilab looks for, yet I'm an employee of Fermilab. So, you know, we have a communications team and they are in charge of our press releases and our lab-wide communication. And when someone is hired, they do a little profile on them and all that kind of stuff. So we hire people with journalism degrees. I work in HR. I have a background in higher education. I have a background in diversity and inclusion. So I work in HR. Like Argonne, we hire finance people, and you know, I mentioned D&I already as well. Some quick facts for you if you care. More than 4,000 scientists from over 50 countries use our lab and everything that's in it. Every year we have more than 1,000 university students using our laboratory as well. That we anticipate that number may go up as we look at the 2020 results, just because it's a little easier to have access when things are virtual, and we get that. We reach out to 40,000 K through 12 students each year. That's really cool. We have some programs that I'll tell you about it shortly. And then 2,300 graduate students receive their degrees based on research that they did at Fermilab. So that's pretty cool. I always like to share this stuff because you know, some people find this stuff to be very interesting, and it's that one piece of one of these boxes is the one thing that's going to pull them in. So I like to share that with you all. Here you can visit this website. This shows you all of our ongoing experiments and projects. Any internships that we have would be, or any interns that we have would be contributing in some way, shape, or form to these experiments. All you would need to do is go to the Fermilab website, that's fnal.gov, and type in the search bar experiments, and this will come up and you can click through all of these and see what we're doing. I would be doing it a great disservice. I don't have the sophistication that Rob does to speak to all of our experiments in that way. And you know, you may not be interested anyway, so I wanted you to be able to see the website and to know that each of these experiments and research projects has a hyperlink associated with it. So I work and I do a lot of outreach. So I wanted you to know kind of what my outreach looks like, because I think it helps lend a better understanding to what we do and what we care about as a laboratory. So we connect with diverse organizations throughout Chicago. So that means really anything, whether it be Chick Tech or Girls Who Code, or the Chicago Urban League, or just these different organizations that even are remotely loosely tied to STEM. We want to kind of pick their brains, utilize their resources, and make sure that, you know, we're represented in every space possible. So, with that, we also want to provide access to our lab, starting with our kindergarten students. You know, we want to really build that pipeline. We want to build an interest in STEM. I can tell you, as someone who grew up in kind of an under-resourced area, I did not have access. I did not know what a scientist, I didn't know that a scientist could look like me. You know, if I had known that at 12 years old, who knows what I would have been. I'm very, very, very happy with how my life is, but who knows, you know, we want to expose everyone to these opportunities and not let distance and not let cost be a barrier. So we visit classes, we offer internships, we offer a program called Saturday Morning Physics, and that's for high schoolers to come and physically be on our campus and on our lab grounds, and to see our bison that we have, and to, you know, to get their hands dirty in a sense with a lot of our different experiments. So we participate in job fairs. We are working right now to do a better job of bridging the physical experience gap with our community colleges. So lab technicians are a position that we have, and you know, we often hire people who have 2-year degrees for that position. So how do we make sure that they can take their classroom experience and bring it into our laboratory? We assist military veterans with re-entering the workforce, and then we offer programming for nonprofits and organizations, as I mentioned. I wanted to show you a quick video, and so you can kind of get from the mouths of a couple of our former interns kind of what it's like to work for us.
Hi, my name is Judah O'Neill. I'm a physics major, and I interned for 2 summers at Fermilab. That rose to the top of my list because it is one of the most prestigious locations to do research in the area.
Hi, my name is Elise Chavez, and I interned at Fermilab for 2 summers. I was looking through the labs, and the one that appealed to me most was Fermilab because it's the particle physics lab of the United States. So for me, it was really related to things that I find interesting, what I wanted to do in the future.
During my internship experience, I think the most impactful thing was having the opportunity to meet and foster new relationship with all of the skilled professionals at the lab.
My experience at Fermilab really widened and broadened my horizons when it came to particle physics, and I was able to learn a lot more about the field as a whole, which has really just opened up my career paths in the future.
Fermilab is a great place to pursue an internship because 1, it gives you real life research experience, and 2, Fermi is just a super diverse and welcoming community, and I think it's a great start for anyone who's just coming into the workforce.
What I found to be most impactful during my internship was the group of people that I was around. We would get together for game nights, and we were just a really good support group for one another.
I very much enjoyed my internship at Fermilab. It was a great place to create some relationships that I'll take with me in the future.
Everyone's so kind, everyone's so friendly. It's such a fun environment, and it's just such a great place that I would just love to be there in the future. I love it.
Fermilab is a U.S. Department of Energy national lab specializing in high-energy particle physics. We're located in Batavia, Illinois, which is approximately 35 miles west of downtown Chicago, and our facility sits on approximately 6,800 acres.
Fermilab is not only dedicated to maximizing diversity within the walls of our lab, but we're also invested in growing the presence of STEM research for communities in which STEM has been underrepresented. Through partnerships and connections to dozens of organizations, including grade schools, colleges, nonprofits, and foundations, we develop and learn from the best talent in the world. We offer several internships, fellowships, and outreach opportunities to maximize access to our lab, one of which we'll tell you about shortly.
Summer internships in science and technology, otherwise known as SIST, is a 12-week paid summer internship program here at Fermilab. All STEM majors are welcome, and that includes computer science, physics, engineering, mathematics, and material science. To be eligible, you need to be an undergraduate sophomore or junior at the time of the application. You need to be enrolled in a 4-year U.S. college or university. You need to have a 3.0 grade point average on a 4.0 scale, and you need to be eligible to work in the United States. To apply, please go to fermilab.jobs.
All right, so as I bring you back, I did want to show you some information on the SIS internship this year. So it'll actually open tomorrow. So yay, you kind of get a head start on knowing when it opens and that kind of stuff. And it'll close January 12th. So as Rob mentioned, Fermi also supports the all of DOE's internship opportunities, including SULI. So I'm not going to explain that one, but the SIS internship deadlines align with SULI. The actual dates that the students will serve for the internships is May 24th through August 13th. That's 12 weeks. It's paid, as we mentioned, housing is provided. And here are the requirements. And I'll leave that there for about 10 seconds in case any of you wanted to stick your phone up and grab that QR code. Otherwise, you'll get that information as well in a second. Okay, and I believe that's it for me.
All right, thank you, Jimmy. Are there any questions, Q&A feature, raise your hands for this internships and opportunities at Fermilab? What I would like for you to do, Jimmy, is also just put your contact information in the chat feature, because I really want you guys to take advantage of contacting Jimmy. He's in a unique position in Fermilab where he is part of the recruitment team there, right? And this is very important as we talk about networking like we did over the summer. Like, it's great to talk to an engineer and know what the engineer is doing, but Jimmy is actually part of the organization that hires people. and is going after people. So it's like, these are the type of people you want to be connected to, guys. So as we look at some of the previous lessons that we have been teaching, you definitely want to reach out to Jimmy and learn more and get connected with him, as he is in a very unique position to be the person that present opportunities to you. So Jimmy, thank you so much for that. We'll transition over to Liv.
Great, thanks. Let's see if I can share my screen here. I have just 3 quick slides, and then I'll do a little tour of our website. We're a little different because we are a nonprofit organization. We host the website pathwaystoscience.org, and really we are kind of a clearinghouse of information about summer research programs, as well as also scholarships and fellowships and graduate funding opportunities. So rather than hosting a few specific internships, we're a tool you can use to search and find internships. We have about 1,000 programs in our database, and about roughly half or so are summer research internships. So I want to give a broad overview, and this may be familiar for some of you, of kind of the types of programs that you'll find in our database. Our information is heavily leaning towards federally funded opportunities, as opposed to maybe the more corporate industry side of things. We have a few hundred of the National Science Foundation RU experiences in our database, and so if you're not familiar with those, RU stands for Research Experiences for Undergraduates. They're usually 8 to 10 or possibly 12 weeks over the summer. They occur at colleges and universities all across the country. Again, there are hundreds of programs. They are all paid programs, so the stipend is usually roughly around $5,000 for the summer. And travel support and housing would be included in those programs. When you're participating in an NSFRU, you're usually a part of a cohort of maybe 8 to 10 or 12 other students, sharing and exploring research topics together under the guidance of a faculty mentor, often alongside graduate students as well. And these programs, in addition to providing, the field experience and the lab experience that was discussed earlier, in the webinar tonight, and in addition to providing that hands-on research experience, they're often incorporating a lot of professional development and mentoring along it. So it's an opportunity not just to delve into an area of research and an academic focus, but also to receive some leg up, especially related to building your professional network, related to preparing for grad school if you're interested in that, and just building connections with faculty and grad students. And each program will have its own deadline and application procedure. The earliest deadlines are generally, I would say, sort of early to mid-December, and the latest deadlines are usually somewhere in the beginning of March. So again, right around the corner. Another sort of group of internships that I wanted to highlight are the NASA internships. You also find those on our website. NASA operates slightly differently. They have both summer internships, but also fall and spring semester sessions. And those fall and spring semester session internships tend to be a little less competitive than the summer internships. Their internships occur at one of the NASA centers or facilities that are across the country. But again, most of the internships are paid. Housing is not provided with NASA, and NASA does use a single base application. So that's convenient. You apply through one portal, kind of submit all your base information, and then select what actual internship opportunities you want to be considered for. And there's a single deadline that way, which is later on in the calendar of March 5th. One thing maybe to think about, not just with NASA, but with any of these federally funded opportunities, is to think broadly about the areas of research they're involved in. So I think maybe engineering and computer science kind of come right to mind when you think of NASA, but NASA has a whole Earth Science Directorate, and even has internships for people interested in like science communication, journalism, and that sort of thing. So thinking about things broadly is helpful. I just wanted to give those examples to give you a feel for the sorts of programs that you'll find on our website. They'll all have different tweaks to them, you know, different application requirements and that sort of thing, but the general philosophy of giving students some hands-on research experience alongside mentoring and professional development, helping to build your career and especially your pathway towards graduate school, like that's going to be a common theme among a lot of the programs that you'll find on our site, a lot of these federally funded programs. I'm going to stop my share and start it again. I think in order to share, I'd like to do just a little demo of our site to help you just see what's available in terms of search functionality here. So this is our site, pathwaystoscience.org. You can click right over here on the program search. And we have just a basic way to browse our programs by level of study, discipline, and geography here. But I'm gonna jump right into the advanced search because I think that's probably going to be most useful for you guys. And I'll do a demo search here. You'll want to start off choosing your level of study, and for summer programs, usually this would be your level of study as of this summer. So for instance, if I were a freshman this year, I would be a rising sophomore for this summer. So I'd be looking for programs for rising sophomores. If you are a senior this year and you're looking for an internship after you graduate this spring, you would be considered a post-baccalaureate. And we have a lot of filters here. I'm going to choose just a few just to narrow down the list to a reasonable size. For example, just for the heck of it, I'm going to choose a region, Northeast. We get a lot of questions from international students asking if, what programs they're eligible for, because a lot of programs do require US citizenship. If you're an international student, you would just want to check here. I'm going to leave it as it is for now. Deadlines. When we get into kind of the thick of the fall and you're wanting to monitor which programs have deadlines that are coming right up, this can be helpful. Only show programs with upcoming deadlines in the next 45 days. I'm going to leave that blank for now because really most programs have a deadline sort of in January, February. The earliest ones tend to be more like early December. So we're not quite there yet. And in fact, you will find that right now is kind of the time that these summer programs are figuring out what their application deadline is going to be. So you may find on our site that a lot of programs actually don't have their deadline for summer 2021 posted. And if you come back in 2 to 4 weeks, it'll be there. But you can always look at last year's deadline to get a sense. If the deadline was February 15th last year, it's probably going to be in mid-February this year. So that's something to know there. I'm definitely going to choose a summer research or internship opportunity. And there are a ton of other things that you can do to filter. What I'm going to focus on next is just some disciplinary categories. These are pretty broad, which is good, I think, because you heard the discussion in the beginning of the webinar about using internships to kind of try out different areas of focus and figure out what you like and don't like. I'm going to choose, let's see. I'm going to choose some things that I majored in when I was in college: environmental science and geography. You'll notice we do have some social science disciplines in here because although this is a STEM focused site, we have a lot of interdisciplinary programs that combine social sciences and the quote unquote hard sciences. And then I'm going to leave these blank for now, but if you have, these are very specific sort of keywords that you can search for. If you have like a really narrow little niche area that you just heard about and wow, wouldn't it be great if I could find something in there, you can delve into that list, which is pretty cool. But I'm going to do my search. I came up with 19 programs. And I'll just click on this first one just to give you an example. So each program has a basic description. You'll see the eligibility here. So rising sophomores and juniors. You'll see a short description. You'll see the length of the program and the stipend. You should have, information right here. This program actually has updated its deadline, great, for this coming year, so February 18th. And then you'll also be able to see, this really makes the case for how many of these programs are really interested in bringing in an interdisciplinary group of students. They're interested in students with a broad range of interests and access. And so I think that really comes out in the disciplines and keywords that the faculty have selected when they posted this program. If you want to learn more and apply, you just click this link and it takes you off to the program's website where they'll have their application form and all their application instructions and eligibility instructions. So I hope that's helpful just in terms of learning how to use the advanced search page. I wanted to show you, I think, just very quickly, two other things. We have what's called a resource library over here. And in that, a toolbox. And we have circles on preparing your applications and preparing summer research applications. In particular, I would to draw your attention to getting strong letters of recommendation. That takes a little bit of time and effort, and but is very worthwhile, of course, a very important part of your application. This has some tips on how to ask people, what to ask, when to ask, all that good stuff. This handout down here is also might be helpful to you. It's called Applying to Summer Research Experiences, and I have it open in another tab here. It's got a timeline for you, which might be helpful, just to go through the timeline and make sure that you're planning to spend enough time on all the different elements of applying. And then the last to point out is if you head back to our homepage, there's a form if you want to submit your name and email address to us. What we do is we email students roughly 3 or 4 times a year, reminding you of upcoming program deadlines related to your level of study and your disciplinary interests. And I'm happy to help answer questions by email. I'll put my email in the chat. If you guys get on the site and you're looking for internships over the next several weeks and months, and need help finding something in particular, please feel free to email me. I answer questions like that all the time, and I'm happy to do some searches and digging around to try to find something that meets your needs.
Thank you so much, Liv. This was very helpful. Before we go over to Wilson, are there any questions that you have now for Liv? You can use the raise your hand feature or the chat box. And if you do have a question that comes up later, Liv, if you do not mind putting your email address in the chat box, because I'm pretty sure people need to digest that we're giving them a lot of information tonight, great information, but maybe you guys just need some time to digest it and maybe want to contact one of our guests tomorrow. All right. So Mr. Wilson, Wilson's going to talk about some of the future, I guess we call it just upcoming activities that we have with LSAMP, LSMRCE, and Eaton. Wilson, take it away.
No doubt. Yeah. So just in general, I'll see if I can share my screen here. Okay. Okay. Can everyone see my screen here? Yes, no? Yes. Sounds like yes to me. So yeah, so as I'm sure some of you know, there is the upcoming conference with LSMRCE in terms of just covering different topics that are relevant to the LSAMP program at large, and something that Eaton has chosen to partner with LSAMP on as it relates to this is essentially a career panel that we'll be organizing. Really the purpose of this career panel, similar to initiatives like this, is to give you a better understanding of kind of what to expect in a internship opportunity, or even as it relates to full-time opportunities. You know, I think specific to industry, there's usually a lot of misconceptions tied to the work experience, or even, you know, finding that college to corporate transition and doing so smoothly. And the goal of this is to have different professionals, you know, be that people in engineering, people in IT, people in, you know, whatever capacities really. And with that, we can give you, sure.
Can I stop you for a second? I'm sorry. Would you mind unsharing and then sharing your screen again? I'm seeing some people in the chat saying that they can't see. They only see like a black screen.
Okay, let me run that back. Thank you.
Sorry about cutting you off. I didn't want you to get too deep and then, you know.
Oh yeah, no, I was feeling the energy. Okay. We're good?
Yep.
Okay, yeah. So I'm sure Deb has showed you all this this image time and time again. So you know, just to reiterate, in terms of our partnership, we will be having two different portions. The key one will be the career panel, where, like I said before, we'll have people across different functions within Eaton, just kind of giving their personal experiences of how they got to where they got to in their career. You know, oftentimes for especially college students, it is very unclear what the next steps can look like, even if it's immediate steps, or if it's something that's, you know, 5 years down the line, 10 years down the line. And, you know, with that in mind, the purpose of this career panel is to really give those perspectives to you, right? So you can ask any questions that you want about how they got to where they got to. And really similar to what we've discussed earlier, especially what Jimmy highlighted, is essentially understanding that, you know, what you start your career in is not necessarily what you're going to end it in, or, you know, anywhere in between, right? So by having this career panel with the different speakers that we will have, you'll get a good chance to really just understand, you know, what options do I have? And as Brian even mentioned earlier, the options are endless, you know, whether that's specific to my company, Eaton, or just at large. There's, you know, really unlimited opportunities that you can engage in. And, you know, specific to us, you know, the world is your oyster, as I would like to say. If you want to check out some of our internship opportunities, here is our actual website as well, where we both cover our internships. This is Eaton specifically, by the way. This is some of the internships and co-ops that you can engage in, where similar to what Brian mentioned, a co-op would be more of a semester term, or in some cases during the summer. Myself, going to a co-op school, it was actually a requirement to graduate that we did co-ops. So I actually did, I like to call it 2.5 co-ops, essentially double blocks at different organizations, such that I spent probably, I would say, 1.5 years of time in addition to, I went to a 5-year school, by the way. So I spent probably 1.5 years of extra work experience, including the summers. So a lot of good initiatives, and we'll have people that can also speak on our leadership development programs at the conference, where LDPs are kind of your first step to leadership pathways, if you would, at any company. And for the most part, if you do get the chance to take part in an internship at our company, that's usually a streamlined service. Don't tell anybody I told you that, but it's usually a streamlined service to our LDP programs, which is also a streamlined service to the tippity top, you know? So a lot of good benefits in that area. And similar to what I mentioned, you know, here's just kind of a quick run through of some of the different internship opportunities that we have at Eaton. You know, pretty diverse, whether you're trying to tap into something like finance, maybe a design engineering position, product engineering. If, you know, research has been a great experience for you, but you want to try something different within the engineering realm, you can tap into applications, which is, you know, with all the theory in the world, how do you make it work, right? So, you know, for some that have the experience of being a TV engineer by, you know, it's not really with new TVs, but the back in the day ones where you have to bang the side of it to get it to work sometimes, you know, that's, you know, in layman's terms, some aspects of what applications engineering is. It's much more complicated than that, you know, if there's any applications engineering aspirants on the call. And this is across all different spaces, both on a local level within the country, as in the US, or anything international as well. We are an international firm. So there are, countless options. And something that I would say I really benefited from with my internship experiences is that it really helped me understand what, even if it's not the specific role that I want to tap into, ultimately what market or industry that made sense for me. For myself, I did get the opportunity to do internships roughly in the power sector. And ultimately with that, I kind of understood some of the greater issues that we deal with power-wise. And from there, kind of figure out what my next steps want to be. With many people of the new generations, you kind of look at your job with more of an intrinsic intent, if you would, where, I want to save the world, right? And, for many people in new generations, you're very serious about it, right? You want to make sure that you are having an impact wherever you can. And with most of the internships that we've spoken on during this call, you essentially get the chance to do that, right? And, in particular, with some of the ones that we'll be highlighting during the LSAMP event, or even just the opportunities and perspectives that we'll be sharing, that will really help you understand how you can make what matters work. So just some things to consider. And yeah, that's just essentially everything as it relates to that upcoming initiative. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me on the side.
Thank you so much, Wilson. I will share screen. So first off, I'd like to say thank you to all of our guests tonight. We really appreciate the time you took out to join us. I hope this has been very beneficial to everyone. I want to touch on the last few slides before we close out tonight. Here are a few links. I'm not sure if Deb has these actually in the chat feature, but this will be sent out to you. Here are a few links and resources for you as you pursue your next internship co-op experience, either during the semesters or over the summer. Also, we just wanted to highlight a few next steps, checklists, use the tools discussed today to identify potential internships, create a spreadsheet to track internship opportunities and due dates. I think that's something that is a really great idea, is having that log and then just referencing that every day to make sure that you're staying on top of those key dates. And then also identify 2 to 3 mentors that'll give you recommendations, update your resume and LinkedIn profile. I believe we have some more content coming soon too about that as well. Draft the application material and have others review it. I think that's very vital just to get peer-to-peer feedback, but also from a mentor as well. And complete and submit the application package by the due date and leverage your network. And I believe that tonight we created a nice platform for you to expand your network. Everyone gave their contact information, and I challenge you to make sure that you utilize that and leverage the network that we're creating for you here on our student sessions. So just a reminder of our annual conference that is coming up very soon, November 6th through 7th. We're really excited about this. It is our first virtual conference for you. We hope that it's the last virtual conference that we have to do for our annual conference. But we expect and we know that we will make a great experience for you. And we really want you guys to come and take advantage of the wonderful things that everybody is putting together for you here. Deb also may have the link in the chat feature just for those that have not registered. Also, upcoming sessions. Next week, we have, next month, we have digital resumes on LinkedIn, along with planning for 2021 entrepreneurship and patenting. For those that have been with us over the summer and the fall, you've seen us go through many topics. We are always looking for feedback on more topics and subjects to present to you, and we thank you so much for your feedback. Also, just wanted to say thank you to all of our collaborators on our summer speaker series, our fall speaker series, and as you can see, we're already working on our spring speaker series. If you guys would like to get in contact with me, here's my contact information.
Hey, Brian, can I jump in before we check out for about 30 seconds? I wanted to share a unique opportunity with the students that we are offering at Fermilab for our internship. So let me steal the screen for a second, if you don't mind. 30 seconds, I promise. So here is kind of our application timeline, again, for the SIS internship. So it opens tomorrow. We are offering a special early interview process for all of the conference attendees. So if you apply by October 31st, a few of you will be selected to move forward and interview actually for the internship. And those confirmation emails will be sent November 4th, so that the day of the actual conference, I will be emailing all of you to schedule interviews, and you will do it at that point. So this serves a couple of good benefits. One, it gets you kind of early consideration, and we would offer internship opportunities to you all before we offer them to other folks and other applicants. But for those of you who maybe aren't selected for this round of interviews, you still might be interviewed during the normal timeline starting in January. And worst comes to worst, now you've solidified your resume, you've solidified references and that kind of stuff to apply for your other internship opportunities as well. So this one is unique for the SIS internship for attendees of this conference, and there will be a spot within the application for you to identify yourself as such. So I just wanted to share that with you before we got out of here. Thanks for that.
No problem, Jimmy. I thank you for sharing. And I just challenge everyone, I really challenge you to take advantage of these opportunities and also of the networks that you're able to build tonight. I want to say thank you on behalf of the LSMRCE and LSAM family. Thank you guys once again for investing in yourselves tonight. And as you can see, we have some upcoming sessions, but I really will challenge you for two things. Well, actually three things. One, start preparing your applications and get these internships and apply this fall. Two, our poster sessions are due very soon. So make sure you don't forget about our poster session deadlines. And then three, make sure you are registered for the conference and let your friends know that the conference is available for them. And if they can participate, please get them registered as well. We have hundreds and hundreds of registrants already. So we are really looking for a great experience to have our first virtual conference. So we really want to see you through the screen and have your participation. So don't forget, poster session deadline submissions are coming up along with registration for the conference. All right. If nothing else, I'd like to say thank you again, and you guys be safe, take care, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much.
Very good.
Great job. Anybody still there with me?
Just me and you, Brian.
And me.
Oh, and Marie.
And Marie's still there with us. She always hangs out with us. Great job.
Yeah, I think that we delivered a good amount of information within a small amount of time. So hopefully we'll get at least some feedback and some applications into the SIS portal like ASAP.
Yeah, it was nice. It's really nice to be able to know that we were not just talking about internships, but people had opportunities.